We'll do the Quebec, then we'll do the ad. Then we'll move over to Rumble. Then we'll talk about the lawsuit, Donald Trump's lawsuit, and other things. So we had our elections in Quebec, people. And 66.06% of the population voted. And by the way, when I said I was having technical issues at the beginning of this stream, StreamYards changed the share icon, share screen, to present. So I didn't know where the share screen went. Now it's present screen. And I'm going to go to Twitter. So no one accuses me of being a number. Again, people believe in gematria, these things like play with numbers. You can find all sorts of patterns. I got no problem with people who believe in that. Sometimes it's even, when it's synchronicity type coincidence, it's funny. So when we have what I believe to be something of a demonic result, I'm saying demonic in a colloquial sense, when we have what I think to be very unpleasant results, tyrannical results of an election, and you go to look at the numbers, and it just turns out that 66.06% of the Quebec population voted. Yeah, that's funny. I don't think it's inspired by the devil. I don't think any Dominion chicanery went on. What they say was Dominion chicane. People voted. I've run for office, for federal office in Canada. We don't have what people accused Dominion of having in Canada. I don't even adhere to those beliefs in the States. I think the way that they go about influencing the election is exactly the way they described it in that Time magazine article. Control information, change rules and laws, at least in the States. This is what they described in the Time magazine article. But in Canada, in Quebec, control the media, control the free flow of information, demonize every political adversary, and offer money to people, literally, and they'll vote for you. And don't take my word for it. Let's just watch this while I take a sip of my Perrier Yerba Mate.
Jour de vote partout au Québec. Il n'y a rien de joué. J'ai besoin de votre vote. Chaque vote va compter. J'ai une équipe qui est prête à vous servir. J'ai envie de vous servir. Si on est réélu, on va, dès le mois de décembre, vous envoyer un chèque de 4 à 6.
Si on est élu dès le mois de décembre, as of December, I'm going to send you a check of your own money if we get elected.
$100. Les personnes âgées vont recevoir un 2000 de plus. On va aussi baisser les impôts.
Why can't you do that before? Why couldn't you have done that? It doesn't matter.
Donc, vous pouvez compter sur moi, mais je compte sur vous lundi.
And I know people who, there's people who say, he's doing the devil horns with his fingers.
Lundi.
Literally promising money. Anyhow, he was reelected. And it highlights certain issues with our electoral system, but it was just funny. 66.06% voted. And the results. We have a first past the post system in Quebec and Canada. First past the post means whoever gets the most votes in any riding wins the seats, even if it's not an absolute majority. So, federally speaking, 338 federal ridings. Each riding is first past the post. Whoever gets the majority of the votes in that riding wins the riding. In theory, you could have a government that is 100% one party, even though they only got 35% of the vote in any given riding. Even if they only got 35% of the popular vote, to put it that way. So in Quebec, there's 125 seats of the National Assembly. The Coalition Avenir de Québec, the one in the upper left here in the blue, the CAQ, they've got 90 seats. They get 90 of 125 seats, which is about 75% of the seats, even though they only got 41% of the vote. PLQ, which is the Parti libéral de Québec, the Liberal Party of Quebec, they only got 15% or 14.37% of the total vote. They got 21 seats. That's sort of more proportionate. Québec Solidaire, which is another political party, got 15.42% of the vote, more than Parti libéral, but they got half as many seats. Parti Québec, Parti québécois, PQ, Parti québécois, they got 14.6%, more than the Liberal Party. And they got a seventh as many seats. And then you got the Parti conservateur de Québec, Éric Duhaim's party. They got nearly 13% of the vote. Almost as much as the Liberal Party, Parti libéral, who got 21 seats. They get 0 seats. So now what you have is 13% of the Quebec population that is just outright not represented in the Quebec Legislative Assembly. That's a problem. Now, some people are saying, "Oh, the CAQ got reelected, but 59% of the population voted against them." Wrong. There's very little difference, if any, between the CAQ, the Parti libéral de Québec. What was the other one? Son of a gun. There's virtually no difference between Québec solidaire, CAQ, Parti libéral de Québec, Parti québécois. There's very, very little difference. So what you have basically is people voting for their own leaders who are vying for control, but you basically have 87%, let's say 86% of Quebec voting for a variation of the same party. You remember when they had that the vote on Bill 15 to strip parents of parental authority, parental supremacy under the Youth Protection Act? Unanimous. All of these different parties unanimously voted to amend the Youth Protection Act to remove parental supremacy as the overarching guiding principle. Oh yeah, but they're different. They're totally different parties. So what's absolutely shocking is that 41% of the population voted to re-elect Francois Legault, Supreme Leader, Sunset Thief. And I did a little Locals exclusive stream beforehand, and I told them I went to bed angry, and I woke up angry. And I would say angry like mad, angry like disappointed, angry like... I'm sitting here wondering now, sincerely, am I the crazy person? I know a lot of you are going to laugh at that. It's like, look at this. I'm sweating in my armpits. That's embarrassing. Why did I do that? A lot of you are going to laugh at that. Am I the crazy person? People are going to look at me and say, yeah, of course you've been crazy for a long time. People have been telling you that. I'm not crazy. But when I look at a population that re-elected the man, the party, who has been abusing them, and I'm saying this like constitutional abuse, psychological abuse, economic abuse, they re-elect that man? Am I the crazy one for having a problem with it? Uneducated, yes. Crazy, no. If I'm uneducated, like, am I the crazy one? Should I just get used to it? Am I wrong for objecting to it? I mean, if everybody else has no problem with it and they vote for it back in office, maybe I'm the one who has a problem for having a problem with it. And so that's the results. You know, we had federal elections last year. It was a slim majority. It was a slim minority that Trudeau got reelected by. Like, he got like 23% of the votes, something along those lines. 41% of Quebec. I mean, when you think that old people are the ones who vote in the highest numbers, hey, well played, Machiavelli. Promising them $400 to $600 plus $2,000. That's one heck of a way to buy some votes. Let's see if he does it. Oh, it'll be classic if he never actually does it. But then you have, where I have some other big problems, Pierre Poilievre. Pierre Poilievre comes out and says, let me bring this tweet out. Congratulates him. He congratulates him because politics is politics and you have to congratulate the victor. There's a way to do it. There's a way that it should be done, and there's a way that it could be done. And there's a way that I would do it, which is probably why I would never have any meaningful success in politics. Pierre Poilievre comes out and says the following. Here, share. Congratulations, Premier Francois Legault, on another decisive mandate from the Quebec people. That's depressing. I look forward to continuing our work together for the people of Quebec and Canada. I look forward to continuing our work together. So where I might have stopped here is if I were writing this, and I'm going to write it to needle somebody because I am, as the shirt says, nonetheless, maybe someone would say I'm a troll, but an honesty troll. I'd say, congratulations on another decisive mandate from the people of Quebec. You should know that the people of Quebec cannot mandate you to violate certain charter rights. I look forward to ensuring that you respect the Constitution in your governance, and rest assured that if you do not respect the Constitution, the Charter of Rights, if I ever make it to federal leader, will see to it that provincially we respect charter rights. something along those lines. It would have to be shorter to fit into Twitter. But no, he says, I look forward to working together, to our work together. Now, it's funny. I had a reply to that, which is now getting buried down here. This is a reply to Pierre Poilievre. It's nice that Pierre talked the talk once upon a time. This is the walk. And his walk now is, I'm going to work with the guy who imposed unconstitutional lockdowns, unconstitutional curfews, in my humble opinion, unconstitutional and inhumane vaccine passports. Supreme Leader Legault imposed unconstitutional lockdowns, curfews, and vaccine passports, to name a few. You stand against these things. How exactly are you going to work together? Someone to that said, I'm going to just drop this out now. I don't think we need to see the rest, but how's that going to happen? Someone in response to that said, Viva, Legault got the mandate. The people of Quebec voted. And I said, you can't get a mandate to violate the Charter of Rights. Like, it's not because you got a mandate to enslave a portion of your population that you can enslave a portion of the population because that was your platform that you ran on and you got the mandate, so all good. No, you can't get a mandate to violate charter rights, constitutional rights, and the law. So the mandate, in as much as 41% of the population did in fact give Legault a mandate for something, you can't give a politician a mandate to break the law. Then the person with whom I'm exchanging, it's a sincere back and forth, says, well, he'll just use the notwithstanding clause in the Canadian Charter of Rights. That's section 33 that stipulates a government can specifically violate certain rights guaranteed under this charter if they do so specifically under a provision of law that is duly passed that cannot exceed a term of 5 years. There is this thing called the notwithstanding clause in the Charter of Rights. It was in there because when they unified, or when they redid the Constitution, provinces wanted to make sure that they would not be effectively governed by the Supreme Court of Canada. And so they inserted this notwithstanding clause to be used with the utmost of parsimony would be an understatement of the decade. Exceptional remedy. If a province like Florida, if a province like Quebec wanted to enact certain language laws, which prima facie would violate certain language rights, well, the province said, we want to retain that power to govern without being subject to the de facto governance of the Supreme Court of Canada. So insert this notwithstanding clause. We can deviate or violate certain rights under the Charter if we specifically enact legislation that specifically says we are violating a specific charter right. It can only be done under certain conditions for certain periods of time. And if the population doesn't like it, they vote those people out of office. So I said, there are certain charter rights that cannot be the object of the notwithstanding clause, one of which is mobility rights, which is why in Brian Peckford's charter challenge, they went after mobility rights in particular, because that is one of the provisions of the charter, from my understanding, and from what was explained by Keith Wilson, the lawyer, that cannot be deviated from, violated by the notwithstanding clause. So a government cannot say, notwithstanding your rights in the charter, we are preventing you from being able to move freely within the country. You can't do that. So there are certain charter rights which cannot be violated under the notwithstanding clause. So mandate or no mandate, that's the law. Secondly, if your goal is to hold a tyrant's feet to the fire, you would act in such a way to compel them to invoke the notwithstanding clause as often as they think necessary to govern in the manner that they want to govern as a tyrant. Notwithstanding your rights, we're doing this. You would want to make them invoke that as many times as possible so it's on the record. You don't want to let them skirt around actually doing it and just go do it by order in council or by health decree. Hold their feet to the fire. That's what opposition does. So if you're going to work together with Francois Legault, I'll work together with you to make sure you respect the Charter of Rights. And if you're going to deviate from it, violate the rights guaranteed in it, I'm going to make damn sure it's on paper that you've invoked the notwithstanding clause, however many times you think you're going to invoke it.